Hello vlog, welcome to episode 18 of the Consistent Creator. And in this episode I want to talk about core competency. Yeah, that's right, core competency. Core competency is just a fancy word for saying like what are your strengths or what are you really good at, and then you want to develop that strength or you want to develop what it is that you're good at. I love what Gary Vee mentions about you want to develop your strengths and punch your weaknesses. Yeah, that's right. Develop your strengths and punch your weaknesses. What Gary's basically talking about is he's saying that he knows what he's good at and he knows what he's not good at. And instead of putting more time into developing his weaknesses, he puts all the extra energy into developing his strength so he can become stronger at that strength and not really worry about that weakness. But the best way to compensate for a weakness is to collaborate with others who are strong in your weakness. That's the best way to compensate for a weakness. But in this video, I really want to talk about strengths. And the next episode, episode 19, I'll go more into my own personal weaknesses and how I really do, collaborate with others for my deficiencies. So back to regular scheduled programming in regards to core competency. So core competency, as I mentioned previously through the intro, was what are you good at, and you want to develop more of what you're good at. I see too many people spend too much time on things that they're not good at because they want to be well-rounded and they don't want their strengths to be very high and they don't want to be their weaknesses to be very low. But that's the best way to do it. Everybody's not going to be great at everything. And that's also why the importance of collaboration and teamwork is so important. But if you got a core competency, then that's what you should triple down on. But the first step to developing a core competency, there's really two things. Number one, self-awareness. And then number two, living out in that gift or maintaining that strength. So number one, self-awareness. Most people are not self-aware on what they are good at and what they're not good at. And even if they do, they still try to compensate for their weakness. They put too much time into their weakness when they should be focusing on their strength. It doesn't make any sense. I'll give you a good example, right? I know a company. I'm going to leave anonymous, but I know a company, right? There are certain things that they do well, right? But when it comes to a specific function, they're very bad at it. Now, it could just be a lack of self-awareness, or it could be pride, or it could be ego. It could just be a combination of a lot of different things, right? But this company decides to put time, effort, energy, resources, and everything else into this weakness when there's another company that's an industry leader who is proven and tried and true, but they don't want to pay that company because they want to think they can come up with a cheap alternative that's going to be better. And it's frustrating. Every time I see this company, because I may potentially have to do business with this company in the future, it drives me nuts. I just don't get it. That's not your strength. But, like I said, this comes down to self-awareness and wanting to invest in it. Now, but sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow. It's a very hard pill to swallow. I know another company that I keep this undisclosed. They had that same issue. They do well. They're a real estate company. They do well. They do certain things well when it comes to real estate. There's other things that they don't do so well. So what they did was, to avoid having to go out and pay somebody, they created a subdivision or a subsidiary of the parent company so they can try to take more money in. And this is where a lot of times business owners, business leaders, entrepreneurs, executives, they go wrong because they don't want to have to pay. So they say, well, you know what? We compete in this market. What we're going to do is, yeah, they may be good at it if they have the self-awareness to admit that. What we're going to do is we're going to start our own. And they're going to waste all this time, effort, energy just to go figure it out, to create a cheap alternative, and they still won't get the results that they're looking for. It doesn't make any sense to me. Time is important. Effort, energy, resources are important. You know, Steve Jobs knew that. I'm gonna talk about Steve Jobs later in the later episode. But Steve Jobs knew that. He knew there was things that they could do right or very well, as he mentioned, and he know there was also some things that they wasn't so strong on, and the things that they wasn't strong on, he stayed away from. He didn't worry about trying to become great in that if he knew that the potential to become great was very small. But like I said, all this comes down to insecurity, pride, ego, and because you don't want to admit. Instead of coming to the team and say, hey, look, we all know that this X is our biggest weakness when it comes to our operations. What we're going to do is we're going to outsource this to another company that's the industry leader, and that way that'll make all of our lives easier. But no, some people want to own 100% of the pie when it comes to operations. Now, I mentioned a previous video where I talked about 100% ownership, in which I was an advocate for 100% ownership. But I'm not talking about ownership in this one, I'm talking about actual operations. I would rather have a successful partnership with vendors in which I have to pay the vendors 30% of our operational revenue and keep the 70%, be successful, than for me to own 100% of our operations and our operational revenue, but we're no closer to our financial goals, or we're no closer to our operational goals. Everything is a team, but it also comes down to perspective on how you look at things. So I'll wrap up with saying this. Everybody has a core competency. Everybody has a skill. Everybody has a strength. Develop that strength. Walk in that strength. Be proud of that strength. But also, too, the things that you're weak at, just admit that you're weak in those things. And seek help. Seek assistance. Because you want to focus, and this is the thing. This is one last major gold nugget of wisdom. So many people are concerned more on how a thing gets done versus achieving a goal and focusing on what needs to be done. So, quick example. If we're at a company and our goal is saying we want to make $10 billion in revenue this year. That's our goal, right? We want to make $10 billion in gross revenue. Now, we're going to try find a way 100%. Somebody smart is going to try to find 100% way where they can keep all 10 billion of that gross revenue. But getting back to my example, I would rather hit that goal of $10 billion in gross revenue, but after paying that partner out, our gross margin is $7 billion, and then if our net gross margin or operational revenue is $3 billion, then I'm happy with that. Then for me to try to say, okay, our goal is 10 billion, we don't hit that goal, all because as a leader or as an executive, I decided that, hey, let's do this internally. Let's put our own resources into it. And then what happened? We don't wind up hitting that goal because we try to do it internally. You don't want to try to do everything yourself. That's why teamwork is important. But if everybody does what is their strength, and stick to the core competency, the company culture would be a better place. The overall company would be a better place. And then the marketplace as well would be a better place. And when the marketplace is a better place, the entire world will become better. So, I leave you with this. Are you of the philosophy that you agree with what I say? You say, hey, you know what, that makes sense. That's what I do every day. I only focus on the things that I'm really good at, and I collaborate with others, in regards to things that I'm not good at. Or you say, hey, Joe, that all sounds nice and dandy, but I know I can make this work. I know I can figure this out. And yes, we need to have 100% of our operations, and we can still be successful. So, let me know what you think in the comments. I look forward to seeing you in episode 19. We're talking about my own personal weaknesses and how I've been able to overcome them. Simmons out.